welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley, and today I'm going to be starting a reading vlog for a book that people have been asking me to read for years, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I'm not exaggerating. People have literally been recommending this book to me for years since it has come out. People in my real life, people on Instagram, people on YouTube. It's been everywhere. People really want me to read this book. And it's no surprise because this is one of the most popular thrillers that's come out in like the last 10 years. It is consistently a top seller on Amazon. It was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and there is now a movie being made for this book. So you may be wondering why I haven't picked it up if it is so popular, and I love to read popular thrillers, especially I love to hate on popular thrillers. So why haven't I picked this one up yet? There's a couple reasons. One is because I don't feel like I'm gonna like it. I just don't feel like I will. I feel like this is a book that is palatable to a lot of people, and those types of thrillers I don't feel like do a lot for me. So I'm not expecting to really love this. I've also heard some bad reviews of it, especially from people whose taste align with my own. And I've also heard that it's not really a thriller, that it's more slow burn, literary, some mystery, some suspense, which is fine. I like books like that sometimes, but I just never really was super intrigued with this one. There's also been a ton of controversy around this author since this book's publication, especially in more recent years. I've seen stories popping up. I've heard people talk about it. No one really seems to know what the truth is, but it seems like she may have been involved, allegedly, because I don't want to get sued, in murdering someone. And so there has been a lot of speculation around that. There have been full articles and exposés done about it. It seems kind of legit, and people don't really seem like they want to back this author. It is kind of hard to know nowadays what sources to trust, and with the whole cancel culture that comes around, an author can make one small mistake and people immediately want you to cancel them and to never read their books, and it's hard to know where to draw the line. I would say if an author is murdering someone allegedly and writes a book that involves that story folding out, that allegedly mimics the real life alleged circumstances of what they are allegedly being accused of, then that seems a little sus. And so, you know, that's always made me hesitant to pick this up because I'm just like, I don't know what's going on there, but I'm not really interested in the book anyway, so I'm just gonna stay away from it. There are two reasons that I am now deciding to pick this book up, and those two reasons are Taylor Swift and Daisy Edgar Jones, two women I am absolutely obsessed with. Taylor Swift sang a song for this movie, and Daisy Edgar Jones is going to be acting in this movie, so I'm gonna be interested in the movie, so I might as well pick up the book, give it a try, see how it goes, see where I stand on it, because I will want to see Miss Daisy Edgar Jones in that film. I'm gonna watch it. If she's in it, I'm gonna watch it. So I wanted to read it first. What I know about this book is super limited, but I imagine if you're watching this video, you probably don't know what this book is about because it seems like everyone in the world has read it except for me. I know it's set in like swampy marshlands. I know that someone ends up dead, and I know that you're following a girl who I think is a teen, but maybe she's like a young adult who is getting blamed, I think, for the murder. Yep, that's about it. That's all I know. So that's what I'm going in with. I'm not even gonna read the synopsis. I'll let you know as I figure out what this book is about. I will also probably include spoilers in this just since it's a dedicated vlog, but anytime I talk about spoilers, I will put a spoiler bar on the screen in case you don't want to know about the spoilers. Then you'll be able to skip over those sections. But yeah, I'm ready to jump on in. We're gonna see how I feel about it. I feel like it's either gonna be a book that I absolutely hate or fall right in the middle about and give it about a 3-star. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but let's get started. Hello, here to check in on Where the Crawdads Sing. In my first go at reading this, I got 80 pages in, so a pretty considerable chunk. I'm starting to figure out what the story is about. I'm getting the vibes. I don't think I'm gonna like this one unless it gets really exciting at some point. Right now, I'm just pretty bored. I was looking at the blurbs on the back of this too, and Entertainment Weekly's blurb is that it's reminiscent of Barbara Kingsolver, which I would definitely agree with. I've read only one thing from Barbara Kingsolver before, Flight Behavior, and Barbara Kingsolver writes, if you're not familiar, really like environmental literary fiction, I think some historical vibes as well in there, and this is just feeling really slow. It's really focusing on trying to build up the atmosphere. There are a lot of adjectives and I didn't expect it to be historical. I didn't know this was going to be set in like the 50s and 60s. So that kind of has caught me off guard. But yeah, pretty much what the story is about is there's two different timelines. There's a timeline back in the early 50s where you're following this girl Kaya as a little girl. Her mom decides to leave their family because the dad is abusive. So she just gets up and leaves one day, which like good for her, but not good for her leaving her children with that terrible man. And then all the other kids end up leaving as well. So Kaya's just left alone with her dad who sucks. And she's just trying to make it on her own. And she really ends up kind of like raising herself. So that's the early 50s timeline that you're following. And then in the late 60s, I think in 1969, a body has shown up in the swamp. This 20-something-year-old dude has ended up dead in the swamp and it looks like someone killed him. And then I read the synopsis because I was like, okay, where's this going? Like, what are we doing with this story? How are these timelines connecting? And I guess it turns out that they're going to suspect her because she's been this elusive swamp woman, because at that time she will be older and like also in like her 20s-ish, or maybe a teen. I don't know. She'll be older. And they suspect that she may have something to do with the murder, I guess, or the death. You don't know if it's a murder yet. That hasn't happened yet. So far, we're just going back and forth between the timelines. They're investigating this guy's death, and then you're watching her start at the age of 6. She's now at the age of 10. She also isn't even in school. Like, she does not want to go to school, so she evades the school system. So she's truly just like this independent little girl trying to raise herself, which is interesting, but I don't know. The story's just moving really slow. It's really taking its time. Also, it's set in North Carolina, which I'm from North Carolina, so I'm kind of like connecting with that a bit. I'm not from the swamplands by any means. Is this even set in North Carolina? Are there swamplands in North Carolina? If there are, I certainly don't know about them, but it mentions North Carolina. And the dad mentions how they have land in Asheville as well. I don't know, but it's definitely a very Southern book. Like, there are heavy Southern accents. It's also the 50s and 60s, so there's racism. And it's just very full of Southern-isms, the ma'ams and sirs and biscuits and fishing and all the Southern things. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a really good first impression of the book. I don't even really like the writing style. I usually like more lush writing, but this one I'm just kind of bored with it. It's a little bit like, I don't know, it just doesn't come across super authentic to me. So yeah, I'll keep reading and I'll update you in another 50 to 100 pages or so. So I'm just now over halfway through with this book. I am currently at page 267 at the start of chapter 40. So I'm getting kind of close to the end, so I wanted to check in with you before I read the last little section of this book. I'm not having a good time. I'm quite miserable, actually. I would certainly DNF this if I had not decided to do a full dedicated reading vlog to it. I really wish I wouldn't have now. I'm questioning all of my life's decisions, but I am not enjoying this. This is not a thriller. This is not a mystery. This is not a suspense. This is just straight up historical fiction. I'm so bored. Literally this whole book, all that has happened is it sets you up with, in 1969, this man was dead in a swamp, and then you go back to 1952 and work back up to that timeline as you're following Kaya from the age of 6 to like 20 something, and you're literally just watching her fend for herself in the marsh, meet a boy, fall in love, meet another boy, fall in love. That's literally all that has happened. It's kind of reminding me of a Kristen Hanna book at this point. I've only read one Kristen Hanna book. I read The Great Alone, and then I watched the show on Netflix, Firefly Lane, but I didn't read that book. But it just feels like that, and this reminds me why I don't read historical fiction, because I find it very, very boring. Yeah, I'm not having a good time. I'm really disappointed. I don't know how this has been so well loved by so many people because it's just so boring. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the last 100 pages are really going to come together in a nice way. But as of right now, I am just like trying to not fall asleep reading this, hoping it goes by faster. I wish I had the audiobook, but I don't. But yeah, I'm just not liking it. This one's not for me. If you like just fiction, historical fiction, just watching people live their normal lives, going about their day-to-day, then this would be for you. But I just can't believe it's been like marketed so much as being this like murder, crime, trial type story, when that's just not what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very bored, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this hopefully tonight. I'm gonna be on some sprints for my friend Savannah's birthday, so excited to do that. Hopefully read the rest of this book I've also kind of considered not reading the end of this on the sprints because I'm like, I don't want to be having a bad time. So maybe I'll read something else honestly during the sprints and then finish it after. I don't really know, but I'm excited for that tonight. And then once I finish the book and have full thoughts, I also really want to watch the movie trailer. I saw the movie trailer when it first came out, but I hadn't read the book, so I didn't pay like too much attention to the movie trailer, and I don't really remember much about it other than watching Daisy Edgar Jones being in like a courtroom, or maybe even it was a church. I don't know. I really remember like nothing about it. So I really want to wait till I finish reading the book and then watch the movie trailer to see how they're gonna do it, because I'm just like, gosh, maybe I don't want to watch this movie if it's gonna be this slow and boring. I don't know. I also feel like I know exactly what's happened in the book. Like, I feel like I could predict who the killer is. It doesn't feel that unsurprising to me. So we'll see if I'm right about that by the end. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to finish it. I just want to get done with it. So I will check in back with you once I'm finally done with this book. Hello, so I have finished this book. If you love this book, I'm going to kindly invite you to go ahead and just close out of this video here. Thanks for being here. Leave a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed it so far. You're not going to want to stick around for the end of this because I hated this book. This is a absolute 1 star for me. This might be the worst book I've read this year. Can't think of one that was worse than it this year. I did not have a good time. I think there's a lot of reasons that I didn't enjoy it. I really can't think of one thing I did really like about it. I really just didn't like anything about it. This is straight up a historical fiction book. That is just what it is. There's a dash of murder, there's a dash of a court case, there's a dash of romance, but it's a historical fiction book, which is not how I've ever heard it be described ever, anywhere, ever, which doesn't mean people haven't described it that way. I just haven't heard it that way from what I have seen about this book. And so I was just expecting something very, very different. I thought this murder was really going to drive the plot. I thought Kaya was going to be a suspect throughout the whole time. I thought that was really just going to be what the story was. And that just is not what this story was until about the last like 80 pages of the book. And that's not even getting into spoilers. Like, that's just saying the pacing of this book was so slow, and the genre that this is historical fiction. You just watch this girl growing up on her own for a very long time, and then right at the end, really quick, there's a quick little court case and an outcome of it, and that's the whole book. So that was really disappointing to me because that's just not what I was expecting at all. And then otherwise, I will get into spoilers to talk about specific things I didn't like. So if you don't want the spoilers, you can go ahead and skip, or you don't see the spoiler bar anymore, and then I'll wrap up my thoughts again at the end. And I'm also going to watch the movie trailer, so you can just skip along to that if you do want to see that. But yeah, I'm getting ready to go into spoilers now, so if you don't want the spoilers, go ahead and skip to where you don't see the spoiler bar anymore on the screen. So as I've already mentioned, some of my biggest issues were in just my expectations going into this book and the pacing of what it ended up being, and also just like the genre and the blending, and it just didn't know what it wanted to be with throwing all of those many things in there. Another big thing that made this book not enjoyable for me is just the believability around it. A book doesn't have to be believable for me to enjoy it, but if it feels so unrealistic and it's trying to be a realistic type of fictional story, then that bothers me, and in this case, this one did. First of all, I just don't really have a lot of believability around this girl raising herself from the age of 6, her entire family abandoning her, and her just making her way for herself in the marshes. That alone is difficult to believe that she would be able to survive by herself from the age of 6 onward. And then you get into the part of her raising herself alone and learning how to read at the age of like 10 or 11 from some other boy, but then she becomes this really successful author and poet and science observer, which isn't to say that no one's ever done that, but like you just add all of these things on top of one another, and then you add the fact that like she's getting put on trial for the death penalty when literally all they found is a single red string or thread of fabric that happened to match like a hat that she had, which is what they were using to accuse her of killing this man, and she was on trial for the death penalty. Okay, so yeah, all of those just like unbelievable things compounded together in this fiction story story. I was just not invested in the story whatsoever. I really skimmed a lot of the second half because I just was so miserable reading it that I had to just like go pretty quick. I still caught everything that happened, but I was just like, I can't read all of these metaphors about humans versus animal biology and how animals mate versus how humans mate, and everything it was trying to do there, I just also felt was just another competing thing, that this book was just trying to be so many different things, and I just don't feel like it worked super well for me. And then one of the worst parts for me is the way that it all wraps up in the end, where you're just watching her not be accused of being guilty of the murder, growing old, dying, and then you find out, oh wait, she did murder that dude and got away with it. So I don't really know what the message of the book here was supposed to be. It just didn't feel like this was trying to be a good for her type story consistently throughout, and then right at the end it like tried to be that, but I didn't feel like good for her because that wasn't really built up for me the whole time. What ends up happening in the story is you watch her fall in love with two different guys, first Tate, then Chase. Tate is this sweet boy, but he leaves her and doesn't come back. Then she meets Chase, who is this like popular boy who it turns out was like two-timing her the whole time. And then later, after they're no longer seeing one another, he forces himself on her, sexually assaults her. She gets mad, and then that is implied of the reason that she ends up killing him. And so in the end, you're like, okay, well, I'm not mad at you for killing him and getting away with it because he did sexually assault you, but also it just didn't feel like this big gratifying moment where I was like really on her side. It was just like, oh, so she did murder him this whole time and she just totally got away with it. So yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't satisfying in the ending. I wasn't invested throughout the whole story. Didn't really care about anything the whole time. Really dragged along. The only thing I liked was in the beginning when she was meeting Tate and developing the romance there, which was like the first fourth of the book maybe. But then with the trajectory the rest of it takes and how slow it is, it just didn't really do a lot for me. And I just didn't really have any kind of redeeming qualities really at all in this book. So that's that. That's all I really have to say. I don't feel like a passionate hatred towards this book. It just definitely was not what I wanted it to be, what I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't a book that I would enjoy. So had I known all of those things, I would have known. I guess I kind of knew. I think I said in the beginning that I didn't think I was really gonna like this, but I didn't think I was gonna hate it and be so miserable reading it as I was. And I was really, truly miserable reading this. Like, I forced myself through it. There's no way I would have finished this book if I wasn't already vlogging it. And yeah. So now I'm gonna watch the movie trailer because I do wanna see that, and I'm interested to see if it looks like it's going to be paced similarly or if it's gonna look like they're shifting anything around with that. So I'm gonna go watch that. I'll add a link to the movie trailer down below as well if you wanna check it out, and then I'll let you know what I think about that. Yeah, so now knowing what I know, that looks way less exciting than it looked when I saw it before, because I just know how slowly it's gonna be paced and how much I'm gonna have to sit through to not really care about anything. The only thing I'm gonna care about is Daisy Edgar Jones. I do think that was really good casting for this role. I am a little biased because I am obsessed with her, but I just feel like she's gonna play this like Southern marsh girl really well. So I'm excited about that. Also, I did forget while watching the trailer that that is a Taylor Swift song that you're listening to. It sounds so much like Lana Del Rey that I just keep thinking it's Lana Del Rey when I hear it, and then I'm like, no, that's your girl Taylor. So that's also cool that it's her. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm gonna like this movie. I feel like I'm only gonna like Daisy Edgar Jones, but that's what it's gonna have to be. So yeah, that is it. This experience was not the best, but honestly, probably saw it coming a little bit. I kind of saw it coming a little bit. Didn't know it was gonna be this bad, but it was pretty bad. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this book, if you're excited for the movie or not, if you feel similar to me or not. If you read it a couple years ago, do you think you would still love it now? Let me know. Let's chat about it all down below. Hopefully the stans of this book are not too mad at me. Hopefully you clicked off before you saw that I hated it. But yeah, as is customary with every time I'm filming lately, my battery died right before I finished the ending of the video. If you want to leave an emoji down in the comments to let me know that you got to the end of today's video, do something swampy, something marshy. So there's like a little leaf thing, there's gators, boats, anything that gives off swampy, marshy vibes. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.